Sections 38 to 52 of On Providence and Fate by Proclus. Translated by Thomas Taylor. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Jeffrey Edwards. 38. As to what you afterwards write in the way of doubt, you seem to me to have written it in consequence of hearing Socrates in many places asserting that he knew nothing, deriding those who say that they know all things, and farther still contending that when we depart from hence we shall especially know the truth, and be in possession of more certain sciences, and also inferring that the mathematical are not truly sciences. You doubt therefore from all this whether it is not perhaps impossible to know the truth, and whether we do not only dream about it. Indeed, it is requisite you should at the same time understand, that if it is not possible for us to know the truth, we do not more know if there is anything in our power than if there is not. For our ignorance of both similarly prevents our adoption of either of these positions. How, therefore, can we use the ignorance of truth in order to show whether there is anything which is in our power? Since, with respect to the existence and non-existence of this, ignorance possesses the same power, or rather impotency. 39. That we may not, however, suffer anything of this kind, we have already enumerated all the modes of knowledge, and have shown what the modes are of which the soul can participate here, and what those are when she assumes a supreme order. And of these, indeed, Socrates, possessing the former, but hoping that he shall obtain the latter on being liberated from the body, says, "that arriving thither he shall know the truth." For other measures and other objects of knowledge afforded him an opportunity of indulging such a hope. Because it is a thing usual with the friends of Plato to inquire whether it is possible for the soul to live not only cathartically, but also theoretically, while surrounded with this gross bond, the body. And I think the subject has been sufficiently discussed, and has been brought to this conclusion, that perhaps it is possible to live theoretically even here, like the Coropaean philosopher in the Theaetetus, astronomizing above the heavens, and investigating on all sides all the nature of beings; and also like those guardians in the Republic, who ascend as far as to the good itself, through that dialectic which Plato calls the defensive enclosure of the mathematical sciences. Again, however, that it is impossible while here to lead a theoretic life in perfection, is evident from the causes which are enumerated in the Phaedo, viz. The occupations and molestations of the body, which do not suffer us to energize theoretically without impediment and disturbance. For the life is theoretic, but the energy is called contemplation, and the contemplation of the One. 40. When also Socrates does not permit us to call the mathematical sciences truly sciences, he does not do this as denying that they have a necessity of demonstrations, but as falling short of the supreme of sciences. And why should I not say, at falling short of dialectic, which no longer considers a point, or the monad as a principle, but the good, and considers the principle of all things? Whence also, As I conceive, Socrates, in the section of a line, in the sixth book of the Republic, assigns the second part to the mathematical sciences. But to perfectly immaterial and separate forms he assigns a part, and a knowledge prior to these; the former proceeding from hypothesis, but the latter being unhypothetical. And with Socrates, the author of the Epinomis likewise accords; for he calls dialectic the bond of the mathematical sciences, as uniting the principles of all of them. 41. But if Socrates asserted that he knew nothing, and the Pythian oracle pronounced him to be on this account the wisest of all men, as he himself informs us, consider the profound meaning both of the Pythian deity and of Socrates, and how by the assertion of knowing nothing this is implied, that the good alone possesses an exempt transcendency, but not he who possesses scientific knowledge; and this it is to know that he does not know. For the attainment of such a knowledge as this appears to be the principal business of those who intend to be wise. For in reality he is truly wise who knows that he is not truly wise, and is not ignorant of this. For to whom does it belong to know that he does not scientifically know every thing, but to him who possesses knowledge? For it is indeed necessary that he should perfectly know that he does not know every thing, since he will know himself not to possess a scientific knowledge of all things. Hence no one will perfectly know that he does not possess scientific knowledge in perfection, till he knows that he possesses scientific knowledge; for then he will at one and the same time know that he knows, and what the things are which he does not know, and will both know that he knows, and that he does not know, possessing a middle knowledge, and science alone, which subsists between those natures that know truth wholly, and those that do not know it at all, of which the former is intellect, but the latter sense. For sense neither knows real being, nor the essence itself of sensibles, of which it is feigned to be the knowledge; but intellect knows essence itself, and the real truth itself of being. 42. The soul, therefore, being a medium between these, knows the essences of things as being prior to sense, and does not know them as being posterior to intellect. He therefore that is wise, will both know that he knows, and that he does not know. And thus much, my friend, in answer to the assertion of Socrates, and concerning that which is real wisdom. Hence it is not proper to exterminate the reasons pertaining to science, neither on account of the mathematical sciences being distinguished from the first science, nor on account of the hope of obtaining true knowledge after a separation from hence, nor on account of the answer of the Pythian deity. For it is Plato himself who exclaims that if science is destroyed, it will no longer be possible to make an assertion about anything, and not even about that which is contingent. But he shows indeed what the knowledge is which the soul may assume while it is united to the body, and what it may obtain when it is freed from its bonds, and also what that is which is at the same time knowledge and not science. He likewise shows that there is one knowledge which is true science, an intellect better than science, and an intelligence which deifies intellect, and that the soul perceiving this knowledge, and not being able to obtain it in this life, desires a departure from body, that she may then be allotted this supernatural and divine comprehension of beings. But of these things enough. 43. In consequence, however, of what you have said, you doubt why good men are in a worse condition, in consequence of failing to obtain the end which was the object of their wishes, but bad men are allotted the things which they desire. You therefore indeed think that this also is an argument in favour of the non‐existence of anything which is in our power. And indeed, if this is an argument of the non‐existence of anything in our power, that things do not happen to the good according to their wishes, the success of bad men in gaining the objects of their desire will be an argument in proof of the existence of something which is in our power. It is better, however, not to adduce opposing arguments to what you say, but merely to show you that this doubt was proposed by some of the ancients, not only with a view to the subversion of that which is in our power, but also with a view to the investigation whether Providence has any existence. And this inquiry of the ancients has been extended to Plotinus himself, to Iamblichus, and your namesake Theodorus Asinius. For the unexpected introduction of fortunate events shakes in reality our invincible preconceptions of Providence, and the affair requires intellectual inspection, if the objector, being saved from that doubt, ought to commit everything to Providence. 44. If therefore we are not the lords of anything, and have not an elective life from ourselves, and neither good nor evil is from us, but these are externally produced, there is no longer any occasion to doubt of events as if they happened contrary to desert, since both good and evil derive their subsistence from an external source. For if we do not cause ourselves to be such characters as we are, it will not be requisite that there should be any retribution for our life, nor in short is anything due from those who are not the causes of the life which they lead. Hence, if the retribution of fortunate events is contrary to desert, we ourselves shall be the cause of the lives, the desert of which it is said we are allotted in the distributions from the universe, because of all the things that surround us, we do not require to have retribution in what we derive from wholes, but in those things in which we co operate something. If therefore there is nothing in our power, we shall have nothing from ourselves, and if this be the case, neither should we desire retributions of those things which we derive from an external source. And this being admitted, neither should we accuse the distribution of events as contrary to desert. 45. If therefore there is nothing in our power, it is not fit to inquire why good men fail in obtaining the end they desire, contrary to desert, but bad men obtain this end. But admitting there is something which is in our power, and that Providence has dominion over all things, we say, adducing to you persuasion after violence, that what is in our power does not predominate over, but co operates with things external. The rational soul, therefore, very properly disposes things that are internal according to its own power, but it cannot do this with externals, because these require other things in order to their distribution, which are not inherent in it. I am delighted, however, with these doubts of yours, perceiving in you a generous proselyte, whom I frequently desire not to confound those things which are in our power with those which are not, nor to be so disposed with respect to things which are not in our power, as if they ought entirely to take place, in order that we may bear them without difficulty when they do take place. Now, however, the doubt happens from things which are out of, not conforming themselves to things which are in our power, though we fancy that they ought; and also from supposing that to be good for us which is not, and seeking for its accomplishment. But it would be better for us always to explore the true and real beings that are in us, and acquire them for ourselves, and to leave things external, and which are not in our power, to the causes of them, as to masters who know what they do. We should likewise be prepared for those things which are not, by those things which are in our power. In what manner, therefore, the doubt pertains to that which is in our power, we have shown you through such arguments as these. But you ought rather to refer it, as we have said, to the doubt concerning Providence. And many things, as I have before observed, have been said on this subject by the ancients, and they thus solve the doubt. 46. Again, therefore, you enquire what that which is in our power is, which it was requisite to investigate in the beginning of the discussion, and afterwards you doubt concerning it. But inquiring about it, you define it to be that which is of itself uncircumscribed and self‐energetic. If, however, this be the case, it is entirely incorruptible, and most powerful, and alone pertains to the ruler of all beings, but is not adapted to that which is in our power. I, therefore, consider this definition to be very remote from that conception of what is in our power, which the ancients adopting attributed this to human souls. But do you also consider the truth of what I say? For they assumed that which is in our power as indicative of the energy of choice, making us to be the lords of choice and aversion, and as indicative of the choice of some good or the contrary. For they did not consider choice and will to be the same, but they asserted that the latter pertains to good alone, but the former both to good and evil, just as false opinion pertains to that which is not good. Hence also they said that election or choice characterizes the soul, which extends itself both to what is good and what is not good, and that this pertains to the middle nature of that being which is converted to both these. This also common rumour testifies. For we praise the choice of these, but blame the choice of those. Evil, however, is not wished for by any one, and evil indeed appears to be good to those that choose it. For no soul, knowing a thing to be evil, would choose, but would avoid it. On account of ignorance, however, the soul is busily employed about it. For she naturally possesses an acute love of good, but sometimes is powerless with respect to the attainment of it. 47. The soul, therefore, essentially possessing an inclination to both, viz. to good and evil, the ancients called this power of her elective, on account of which we are naturally adapted to choose one thing instead of another. And indeed you may obtain from division such a definition of this power, because all power is either rational or irrational, it is necessary that choice should be in one of these. But since it is not irrational, for we all say that the irrational power is without choice, it will be a certain rational power. But every rational as well as every irrational power is either gnostic or appetitive. Choice, however, being election and desire, will be a certain appetite. But every appetite either alone looks to that which is real good, or to that which is only apparent good, or to both these. We say, however, that choice does not look to real good alone. For if it did, it would never be justly blamed; nor to apparent good alone, for in this case it would not frequently be praised. Hence, such a power is naturally adapted to look to both these. 48. Election therefore is in short a rational power, desirous both of true and apparent good, leading the soul to both, on account of which she ascends and descends, errs and acts with rectitude. The ancients, perceiving the energy of this power, called the inclination of it both to real and apparent good a twofold path in our nature. Hence the elective and that which is in our power will be the same thing. And according to this power, we differ from divine and from mortal natures. For each of these is unreceptive of this twofold inclination; since the former indeed, on account of their transcendent excellence, are alone established in true good, but the latter, on account of defect, in apparent good. For intellect indeed characterizes the former, but sense the latter; and the former is our king, but the latter our messenger. We, however, being of a middle nature, are established in choice, and are capable of being moved both to true and apparent good. But wherever we move, we are on all sides comprehended by wholes, from which we are allotted what is according to desert. And if indeed we tend to that which is better, we thus tend as intellect; but if to that which is subordinate, as sense. That which is in our power, therefore, is not capable of effecting all things. For that which can effect all things is a power characterized by unity, and on this account can effect all things because it is one and boniform. But the power which is elective is dyadic, and on this account cannot accomplish all things, because by its twofold inclinations it falls short of that nature which is prior to all things. It would, however, be itself effective of all things, if it had not an elective impulse; for then it would be will alone. For a life characterized by will subsists according to good, which causes that which is in our power to be most powerful, and is truly deiform, on account of which the soul also becomes a God, and as Plato says, governs the whole world. 49. Hence that which is in our power neither pertains to the first, nor to the last of things, but to the medium between both. You, however, as it seems, have conceived it to be a power ruling over all things, leading all things according to its own impulse, and obtaining every thing which it desires. For you do not define it to be a power over the objects of desire within the soul, and which cause the electing soul to be such as it is; but you ascribe to it a power over things which are not in its power. For things external to the soul are not in our power; on which account also our life is mingled from things which are not, and from things which are in our power. And with worthy men indeed there is much of that which is in our power; for they use all things, modifying even those that are out of our power on account of virtue, and always adorning the present circumstance. But with the multitude there is more of that which is not in our power; for they follow things external to themselves, not possessing a life within which is able to assimilate them to themselves. Hence worthy men indeed are said to be free, and are so on account of the energy, both of that which is in, and of that which is not in their power. But the multitude are called into servile necessity, in consequence of burying those things which are in their power, with those that are not, and possessing all things not in themselves. 50. After all this, you have added the colophon or summit of the doubts, by asking whether divinity knows or does not know events which are future to us. And if indeed he does not know them, you will say that he does not at all differ from us, who have no knowledge of futurity. But if he does know them, that which he knows will entirely and from necessity come to pass. This, however, as it would seem, not only destroys that which is in our power, but likewise everything which is said to be contingent. This also is usually said by those who conceive all things to exist by compulsion, and, as I may say, has been asserted 1,000 times. But they all reason as follows. If divinity knows every future event, that which is future will be from necessity. And they indeed assert it to be false that divinity knows everything definitely. But they say that his knowledge is indefinite of things which indefinitely come to pass, in order that they may save what is contingent. Others, however, attributing a definite knowledge to divinity, admit necessity in everything which comes to pass. These are the dogmas of the Peripatetic and Stoic sects. But Plato, and whoever is a friend to Plato, affirm that divinity definitely knows future events, and that nevertheless some things are produced definitely, and others indefinitely, according to their respective natures. For those things which in effects subsist with division and contrarily, are antecedently comprehended in the Gods according to a more excellent condition only. 51. I say, for instance, the causes of generated natures, whether they are incorporeal or corporeal, subsist incorporeally with the Gods. And in a similar manner their knowledge is incorporeal. And again, the causes of intellectual and of non-intellectual beings subsist with the Gods both essentially and according to science. For they also know things which are not intellectual intellectually. And again, of things which are produced by them, that are either temporal or without time, there is with them a cause and a knowledge exempt from time. Hence, because of effects, some are definite, but others indefinite. The Gods antecedently assume the knowledge of both these according to the more excellent mode, viz. According to the definite. Moreover, the form of knowledge is not such as the object of knowledge, but such as the Gnostic nature. For knowledge is not in that which is known, but in that which knows. Hence it is similar, and of the like form, to that in which it is, and not to that in which it is not. If therefore that which is known is indefinite, but that which knows it is definite, the knowledge is not also indefinite on account of the thing known, but definite on account of that which knows. For it is possible to know that which is subordinate after a more excellent mode, and that which is supreme after an inferior mode. 52. Hence, because the Gods are better than all things, they antecedently comprehend all things after a more excellent mode. And beings indeed, they comprehend superessentially. Things which are according to time, as we have already said, prior to time. corporeal natures incorporeally, material natures immaterially, definitely things indefinite, permanently things unstable, and ingenerably things generable. It does not therefore follow that if they know what will be, the event must happen from necessity. But to the event indeed we must give an indefinite generation from a definite cause, and to the Gods a definite foreknowledge of that which is indefinite. For neither does it follow that because your art employs drums and wheels, and corporeal materials, these subsisted corporeally in your foreknowledge, but your imagination comprehended in itself incorporeally and vitally the productive principle of the future machine, and the astrolabe was corporeally fashioned from an internal knowledge which is not corporeal. If this, however, is the case in your art, what ought you to say of the foreknowledge of the Gods, in which all things subsist in a manner truly ineffable, and not to be circumscribed by us? Is it not evident that this mode of comprehension is different from, and in no respect allied to the things which are produced by it? Hence the Gods know divinely, and in a way unaccompanied by time, those things which are in our power, and we energize as we are naturally adapted. Whatever we choose also is foreknown by them, not on account of the boundary which is in us, but on account of the boundary which is with them. Such, my friend, is my answer to your inquiries, independent of which I am able to show you that there is something in our power, from praise and blame, from counsel, from exhortation and dehortation, from judicial affairs, from accusation and defense, from all political erudition, from legislation, from prayer, from sacerdotal methods, and from philosophy itself. For you well know that my preceptor Syrianus used frequently to say, that if that which is in our power were destroyed, philosophy would be superfluous. For what should it instruct when there is nothing which can be instructed, when there is nothing in us by which we may become better? Reconsidering therefore these things again and again, if you still have any doubts, do not be averse to write to me. For what subjects can we more aptly discuss than those, in the disquisition of which no one will accuse us of nugacity? End of On Providence and Fate.